For most of modern history, work followed a simple deal. You learned a skill, you showed up every day, and in return, you earned a living. That deal built the American middle class, powered Britain's post-war boom, and helped Australia turn raw resources into a high-income economy. But that deal is quietly being rewritten, not by politicians, not by unions, and not even by corporations, at least not directly. It's being rewritten by machines that don't sleep, don't negotiate, and don't ask for raises. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't the first time workers have faced a threat like this. But it might be the first time the threat can think. Every major economic shift starts the same way. Slowly, almost invisibly, then all at once. In the early 1800s, skilled textile workers in England smashed looms because machines were taking their jobs. They weren't afraid of technology. They were afraid of being made irrelevant. History would later call them Luddites, turning their fear into a joke. But their fear wasn't irrational. It was accurate. The machines won. Fast forward 2 centuries, and we're standing at a similar edge. Except this time, it's not factory hands or miners looking over the cliff. It's accountants, graphic designers, journalists, customer support agents, even software engineers. AI doesn't just replace muscle, it replaces judgment, pattern recognition, decision-making, the very things we once believed made humans safe, and that changes everything. Because economies are built on one core idea. Human labor creates value. Wages buy goods. Goods create profits. Profits fuel growth. Workers are producing more than ever. Yet wages, adjusted for inflation, have barely moved. In the UK, real income growth has stagnated since the financial crisis. Australia has seen similar pressure, especially in white-collar roles once considered future-proof. This isn't coincidence. It's leverage shifting. When a company knows it can replace a human task with an algorithm that costs less over time, negotiating power disappears. Not overnight, but gradually, silently. AI doesn't fire you. It makes you expensive. And this is where the real battle begins. Not between humans and machines, but between workers and the economic system itself. Because capitalism has always rewarded whoever controls productivity. During the industrial era, that was factory owners. During the digital era, it was platform builders. Now it's whoever owns the models, the data, and the infrastructure. And ownership matters more than effort ever will. Think about it. If an AI system can write marketing copy, analyze legal documents, design logos, and answer customer queries all at once, then one company can do what once required hundreds of employees. That's not efficiency, that's concentration. And concentrated power reshapes societies. Historically, when technology displaced workers, new industries emerged. Cars replaced horse-drawn carriages, but they created mechanics, engineers, and logistics networks. Computers killed typing pools but created IT departments. The promise was always the same. Don't worry, new jobs will come. But AI is different in one crucial way. It doesn't create demand for human labor at the same scale it replaces it. One AI engineer can deploy a system that replaces thousands. One startup can scale globally with a fraction of the workforce older companies needed. The ladder is still there, but fewer people are allowed to climb it. And that raises a dangerous question. What happens to an economy when millions of people are productive, capable, willing to work, but no longer economically necessary? That's not a science fiction problem. That's a balance sheet problem. Governments are starting to notice. Corporations already have. Workers feel it first, though, through hiring freezes, restructuring, and job descriptions that quietly merge 3 roles into one. This is not about AI becoming evil. It's about incentives doing what incentives always do. If machines increase profit margins, they will be used. If workers become a cost rather than an asset, they will be minimized. The battle isn't loud yet. There are no mass protests. No dramatic collapses. Just a slow erosion of bargaining power. So if this is where we're headed, the real question isn't whether AI will replace jobs. It's who absorbs the shock. Because when labor loses leverage, the effects don't stop at employment. They ripple outward, into housing markets, consumer spending, politics, and social stability. An economy can't survive on efficiency alone. It survives on participation. When people stop earning, they stop spending. This is the paradox of AI-driven capitalism. Machines make companies more productive, but people make economies function. And right now, those two forces are drifting apart. Some argue the solution is reskilling. Learn to work with AI instead of competing against it. And that sounds reasonable until you look at the numbers. Not everyone can become an AI architect or data scientist. Even if they could, the economy doesn't need that many of them. Training programs help individuals, but they don't solve systemic displacement. Others suggest shorter work weeks, job sharing, or creative industries filling the gap. Those ideas soften the blow, but they don't address the core imbalance. Value is being created without wages attached to it. Which leads to the most controversial idea of all. One governments are quietly studying while publicly avoiding. Universal basic income. The idea that if machines do most of the work, then ownership of those machines should indirectly support everyone, not as charity, but as a dividend for living in an automated economy. To some, this sounds radical. To others, it sounds inevitable. Because the alternative is worse. An economy where a small percentage of people own the systems and everyone else competes for scraps of relevance. That's not capitalism as we've known it. That's feudalism with servers. And history shows us what happens when large groups feel permanently excluded from economic progress. They don't quietly adapt. They push back. This is why the AI versus human worker debate isn't really about technology. It's about power distribution. Who owns the tools? Who controls productivity? And who gets to benefit from it? In the US, this debate is already influencing elections. In the UK, it's shaping conversations around regulation and worker protections. In Australia, policymakers are watching closely, knowing their resource-driven economy won't be immune forever. The decisions made in the next decade will define whether AI becomes a shared advantage or a dividing line. Because here's the part rarely discussed. AI doesn't have to replace workers. It can amplify them, but only if incentives are aligned toward long-term stability, not short-term profit. That requires rules, guardrails, and uncomfortable conversations between governments and corporations that would rather move fast and apologize later. Without intervention, the market will do what it always does, optimize relentlessly, even if the outcome is socially unstable. And workers aren't powerless in this story either. The most valuable skill in the AI era won't be coding. It will be adaptability paired with leverage through collective action, smart policy advocacy, and ownership models that let people share in the upside of automation. The future of work isn't about beating AI. It's about deciding what role humans still play in an economy that no longer needs them by default. That decision hasn't been made yet. And that's the real battle you didn't know about. If this video changed how you think about AI work or the economy you're living in right now, take a second to like it. It helps this conversation reach people who need to hear it. Subscribe if you want more deep, story-driven breakdowns of the forces shaping money, power, and the future behind the scenes. And let me know in the comments, do you think AI will ultimately free workers or quietly replace them? Because the answer won't just shape jobs, it will shape society.